Hi, everybody. My name is John DePietro.
And I'm Bob Zagami, and welcome to the Camper Report Show.
Hey, it's the Camper Report Show again, and we have so much fun bringing all of the industry news to our viewers. And Bob, who else are you going to be talking to?
I'm going to have an interview with Chris Andro, who's from Connecticut, and he is the new chairman of the board for our National RV Dealers Association.
And I've got an exclusive interview with Eric Jackson, who made news not too long ago when he was backing his RV up into a boat ramp to put a boat in the water, and the dog hit the gear shift. The RV went swimming. We're going to have those stories and more on this edition of what, Bob?
The Camper Report Show.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. Everybody, welcome back to the Camper Report Show. My name is John DePietro. I'm joined with Bob Zagami. And Bob, there's so much news to report about the industry again this week. And I think one of the bigger stories was the rebranding of the Winnebago corporation, if you will, the conglomerate, where they're more than just RVs now.
Yep, they got an outdoor theme. So they're calling it Winnebago Industries, and everything that they do in the outdoors will be underneath that brand.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's smart to keep the Winnebago name because it really is generic for RVs. It's kind of like the Xerox company and the Kleenex and that type of thing. But a lot of people might not be aware of the fact that Winnebago, in addition to the Winnebago brands, also is the parent company of Grand Design, which is a towable manufacturer and certainly a leader in their segment, and as well as the Newmar products, which are high-end diesel pusher products. And moving over into that outdoor theme, they're also the parent company of Chris Craft Boats. So you see all the trends of outdoor activity. Talk about that and why this Winnebago rebranding is really a good thing.
Well, a couple of years ago, a lot of the outdoor associations, if you will, got together and they formed a new association with a big umbrella over everybody working in the outdoors. It's called the Outdoor Recreation Roundtable. And the first thing they did was a survey, and they come up with a staggering number, that the companies and the outdoor recreation industry itself is a $788 billion industry.
Million or billion?
Billion.
Billion with a B.
With a B. And it's 2.1% of the gross domestic product, which is larger than mining and larger than agriculture. And it was a startling statistic, but they realized the power of the money of the people that enjoy outdoor recreation in some format. That's all discretionary spending.
Yep, and the interesting stat that I read is that it's over 5 million. It's 5.2 million jobs that it creates. So look at the economic impact on the entire economy with those 5 million people working in the industry, and then they're buying food, bread, fuel, et cetera, et cetera. Talk about some of the other industries, the other categories of that industry. Do you have that material there, like boating and RVing?
Boating, like the stuff that you mentioned, golf, ATV, motorsports, powerboats, cruising. I mean, it was just a lot of things that people do. There's 23 different outdoor associations.
And then don't forget equestrian sports. Now, you remember many times when you were a little kid, your equestrian history, probably like mine, where it was based upon going to the food store and there was a little two horses in front where you put a nickel in and they went around the corner. I don't think that's probably what they're referring to, though.
A different type of equestrian, a different type of function for the horses.
Yeah. So, as we move on in this category, the manufacturers themselves are providing awards for fellow manufacturers or recognition. Talk about some of those awards.
Well, in the RV industry, we have what's called the Quality Circle Awards, run by the RVDA, the RV Dealers Association, and I'll be talking to their national chairman of the board in my interview this week. But these awards are voted on by the dealers. They vote on the aspect of doing, their relationship with the manufacturers that they do business with, and they judge them on reliability and quality, parts, availability, warranty, how warranty expenses, and sales. How well does the manufacturer work with the dealer? So it's a prestigious award for a manufacturer to have, and some will even put stickers on the side of their unit.
Yeah.
So they do the awards in two different categories. One would be towables. And of course, that's 80% of our business is towables. So in that category, were in alphabetical order: Airstream, Cruiser RV, Dutchman, Aspen Trail and Kodiak, East to West, their Alta brand, Forest River brand, Flagstaff Trail Trailers, Fifth Wheels, and Shamrock Expandables, Rockwood Travel Trailers, Fifth Wheels, Rockwood Rue Expandables, Grand Design, Imagine, Momentum, Reflection, Solitude, and Transit. All 5 of their product lines on Grand Design get the award. Palomino, their Puma Travel Trailers, and Fifth Wheels. That's in the towable category. In the motorized category, the awards went, again, in alphabetical order: Airstream, the Coachman Galleria, Beyond, and Nova Class Bs, Leisure Travel Vans, Triple E out of Canada, Newmar, and Tiffin Motorhomes. Those were the winners in the motorhome category. So they do give some honorable mentions. So it's something for consumers to look at, and the dealers that get them will have the award sitting out in the showroom, and it's bragging rights, and it represents collectively what the dealers in the country are saying about the manufacturers.
Exactly. And the other interesting news is that Dick's Sporting Goods is going to be rebranding a couple of their stores to the outdoor enthusiasts. So instead of football, basketball, and baseball, I understand that they're going to be featuring hiking, kayaking, canoeing, and that type of thing. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, what they're going to do is they had a line of stores that they opened a few years back called Field and Stream that were totally dedicated to fishing and hunting, actually fishing and guns. And they suffered a lot with public pressure about the gun lobbies and what have you. So they're going to rebrand 2 of those stores in mid-2021. And they're going to be called Public Lands, which gives you the outdoor theme of the state parks and the national parks. And it's going to be a different set of gears, different set of products from what you see at Dick's, probably a little bit more of an upscale to take advantage of the people who are coming into the outdoor industries through recreational vehicles, but also boats and other things. And what that enthusiast is buying from some of their competition right now. So they recognize that they're changing that brand, and I think it, in one sense, Dick's Sporting Goods, when we were kids growing up, that's what the stores were called, sporting goods. Well, that's a very nondescript term, and in today's environment with outdoor enthusiasts, right.
Right. Yep. But again, as you see the RV manufacturers promoting vehicles that are designed not for necessarily campgrounds and RV parks, but for hitting the open road and going into areas where they need solar, and that people can hike during the day, come back, and or kayak during the day and come back, and that seems to be the new RVer.
Yep. So we'll hear that term, outdoor enthusiasts, and from all of these companies and the associations will be looking at that and talking about the whole outdoors. Well, you see it with Camping World. Camping World has their Gander RV and their Gander brand is called Gander RV and Outdoors.
Yep.
The Camping World RV sales are Camping World RV sales.
Exactly.
But you may even see that go to Camping World RV and Outdoors. You're going to see a lot of people tag outdoors. Yeah.
We're honored and pleased to be in an evolving industry. And
right.
That's the story. So that's up to date on all the RV news. Stay with us, folks. We've got a great show lined up for you. This is the Camper Report Show. Stay right there. And welcome back, everyone, to another segment of the Camper Report Show. And, you know, it's been said over and over and over again that you meet the most interesting people at campgrounds or RV parks or anywhere along the America's highway, or the world's highway for that fact, that have an RV, because then when they're in their RV, they're not bank presidents, they're not janitors, they're not middle managers, they're just regular old people. And we have a regular old person. Are you old? Nah.
It depends who you ask. Yeah.
We have a regular person that we're talking to today, and he has done some amazing things with his life, and it all centers around an RV. So we want to welcome our friend for this segment, Mr. Eric Jackson. Eric, welcome to the Camper Report Show.
Hey, well, thanks for having me on, John. And certainly we're talking about one of my favorite subjects in the whole world, which is RVing.
Yep. And Eric, you get discovered the craziest ways. And the way that I found out about you is that there was a story that was recently printed in a RV magazine that showed your RV trying to take a swim, or I should say, rolling backwards down a boat ramp as you were trying to launch a boat. And it couldn't be more appropriate because right behind you, I'm told, is the dog that was driving at that particular moment. So bring us up to date on that, and then we'll go back and find out about your background and history.
Sure. Okay. Well, that is Bodie, the world's worst backwards driving dog. Right, Bodie? Yeah. That one. All right. So yeah, in Lake Sam Rayburn in Texas, I'm fishing a professional bass fishing tournament, and I've got my 38-foot RV, a Safari Simba toy hauler with my bass boat, my Ranger bass boat on the back of it. And I was backing it in for a day of practice when I had it parked on the ramp. I'm pushing my boat in the water to get ready to go in. It's a nice cold 30-degree day. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the RV's trying to run me over. And I have no idea what's going on. I managed to get inside, close the door, hit the brakes, and Bodie there, the backwards driving dog, apparently hit the reverse button while I was there, and I did not have the wheels chalked. I did not have the engine off, so learned my lesson on that one.
Right. And a lot of people might be saying, wait a minute, you mean the dog engaged the gear shift, but the particular make and model that you had, it was a push button, like over on the left side by the left of the driver's side, right?
That's right. It was an Allison chassis diesel. It was a front end diesel, and it just says P, R, N, and D, and that's all you got, right? So Bodie decided to hit the R button while the engine was running, and it reversed really quickly.
And as you talk about Bodie, is it he or she?
It's a he. It's a boy.
He is right behind you, listening intensively. You can see him in the camera.
Yeah, he knows that it's wasn't his most proud moment.
So we'll be able to have through our technical friend Patrick Buchanan, he'll be able to put the link down below for that video. But we should say that the interesting part about your background is that you're a world champion kayaker, you're an entrepreneur. Now you're embarking on another venture with manufacturing, and also you're an angler. Now, just to show you that my research methodology is close to perfect, if I wasn't as intelligent as I am, I would call you a fisherman. But anglers don't like to be called fishermen, do they?
You can call me. I'm fine with being a fisherman as long as if it refers to catching fish, I'm all about it.
All about it. So you've had a number of different careers, but all of the things that you've been able to accomplish have really centered around living in an RV. And I know your wife was the person who said, if this marriage is going to continue, we're getting an RV. So go way back with your kayaking days, and talk about your first RV and how it came about.
Sure. I lived in suburban Washington, D.C. in Bethesda, Maryland. And the neighborhood I was in was actually amazing, called Brookmont. You could actually walk. I could walk to the river for training. It's where the U.S. team was housed, or was the main U.S. team centered there. That's where our training was, where our coaches were. But the challenge was that all the races and all the main training camps that weren't there in DC were somewhere else in the world, or all around North America. All the events were somewhere else. And I would have to fly to these events, and I didn't have the cash to take my wife and my 2 little kids. So I would go to the events by myself. And it was really an issue because I wanted the whole family there, but there was no way to do it. And it wasn't fun for any of us, for us to be separated. And my wife came up with the idea. She's like, why are we living here in DC when you always want to be somewhere else anyway? Why don't we just get an RV? And at first I was like, what? And then I thought about it for a second. I had a friend that traveled in an RV, and I always remember he was able to go from, I'd go somewhere, I'd meet him, and then he'd be off to the next great place, and I'd have to go back to DC. So it occurred to me, you could go from point A to point B straight to point C without having to go back to A. So not having to go back to point A was all of a sudden a mind-blowing for me, and I was like, holy crap, this is unbelievable. Within 30 days of that epiphany that my wife and I had, that she brought up to my attention, within 30 days we had a yard sale, and that we advertised in the Washington Post. We sold everything we owned. We didn't pack anything. We bought an RV, a Coachman Murata, that we bought, our first RV, Class A, no slide outs. $44,000 we spent on it. It was used. It had, I think it was 2,000 miles, but it was a few years old. So we got a really good deal on this used RV. It was parked in front of the house. We literally swept the house out. And people, we didn't even pack anything. I mean, people were buying our spoons and silverware and our TVs, and they just came in and they cleaned us out. We just swept out the place. We now didn't own anything except $7,000 in cash. And we hit the road. That was on Halloween, the day after Halloween, 1997.
So 23 years ago, you remember it like was yet. You even remember the finite, the small details like it was yesterday. If you didn't discover RVing, would your marriage still be intact, or would your career be totally changed? Would you have to live in that Washington, D.C. suburban lifestyle and jump on I-95 or 66 or 495 or the Baltimore-Washington Expressway every day and go do a job that you didn't want to do?
I don't know what would have happened. Certainly, my marriage was being challenged by the fact that I wanted to go to these events and I couldn't bring my family with me. So I can't speak to that, other than the second we moved in the RV, we were as happy as could possibly be. We also saved $1,100 a month, and our monthly nut to crack was $1,100 a month less. And my income, I was an athlete, so my income came from sponsorships and prize money and that type of thing. So suddenly I had more money than I did before, and was able to actually save some money. So it was a positive in every way, shape, and form, and definitely put our marriage on a great spot. And then the places we went to was unbelievable. I could talk for hours about how amazing that first period was.
You know, I think for sure that we're going to have you back for another segment, because there's no way we can chronicleize your RV life in such a short window that we have here today. However, it's funny because Bodie right now is turned around, looks like the RCA dog. If you can turn around your left shoulder and
as my 12-year-old would say, Bodie, you're so cute.
He likes it. But the fact is, you did in a short period of time what it takes people. They get paralysis from analysis of thinking, can I have a career and can I be mobile? And today it's easier than ever, but you didn't have the internet today. You didn't have the capability to do Zoom meetings. You really were a pioneer in putting it all on the line, weren't you?
It was, yeah, we had a Nextel phone, and that was our first cell phone, only worked so many places. But yeah, the remote work thing, we started right then. I got a job as a sales rep. I was able to sell boats on the road, living in the RV full time. We committed right away, and we made it work. There was, like today, it's like super easy. I've got my cell phone and my laptop, and whether I'm here in my office in Tennessee or in the RV, there's really almost no difference in terms of the effectiveness. In fact, I'd say probably do better work in my RV.
You know, Eric, it's interesting because there are people that say that they find serenity in their RV that they don't find in their home. Did you find that to be the case with you?
My line has always been, and I can't speak for my wife, but if I had to, right now, I had a choice between burning down this house and never.
Describe that house you're talking about first, though.
I'm in a nice big log house. It's this is just my office, but it's 3,500 square feet plus a finished basement, wraparound deck, hot tub, fire pits on 20 acres. Basically the dream house. It's my dream house. It's my first house and the only house I ever intend to have. But even this dream house, I would burn this house down. I don't want to burn my house down. But given a choice between the RV, you're never allowed to go in an RV again, or you have to burn the house down. Which one I would do? I'd choose the RV every time.
Okay, so that's a pretty strong statement. And I understand you've had several RVs. Describe a little bit of the path that you took.
So I'm a Class A guy, as in a Class A RV guy. And the reason for that is a variety of things. One, I really enjoy being able to just jump in the driver's seat, turn the key, and then and drive. And meanwhile, hey honey, can you grab me a Coke out of the fridge, or my son or my kids, whatever, versus a pull behind trailer, for example. So the Class A, and then the Class C, I like the Class A because when you're in the driver's seat, you're part of the living room. When in Class C, typically you're down in, there's the thing over top. I feel like I'm driving a car again. I really enjoy the big windows and the wraparound view that you get in a Class A. I like driving it better. And I like once you get to your location better. I also like the convenience of literally just being able to pull off. Let's say you're driving somewhere, you just pull into a Walmart parking lot, for example. You park it, you close the blinds, and you're there. You're done. That's all you've got. You're ready to rock and roll. It's like 30 seconds. You can be watching a movie, you can be working, you can be cooking dinner or whatever. So Class A for me is
that's your preference. Now, the interesting thing that we haven't told people is when you're kayaking, you're not kayaking in major cities, right?
That is correct.
You kind of have to get away from the hotel scene, and the RV allows you to go from week 1 to week 2 directly, get there a few days early, acclimate yourself, and that type of thing, right?
Yeah, it's the way I just is I have the best real estate in the world. Bill Gates cannot afford to live like I live, simply without an RV. Anybody can do it with an RV, but without an RV, you cannot buy this place at that national park or that state park or this city park, or just there's so many places that you can go and park that I park all the time by the river at the takeout and at the boat ramp in Salida, Colorado, or at the Whitewater Park in Buena Vista, Colorado, or at Coloma, California on the American River. There's just so many places that are unavailable at any cost, but with an RV you go and boom, you're there in some of the best real estate with the best views, right in the action where you want to be. And that really makes all the difference in the world. And yes, they park on dirt lots and they're more off-road than you think. No, they're not 4x4. I mean, yes, some of them are, like that new Winnebago Echo you showed me the other day. My wife was actually looking at that. She's like, ooh, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So anyway, she's warming up to that one.
Yeah. So basically, what would you say because we're just about winding down this segment based on the time that we have allotted. And I want to ask you to come back and we'll do maybe part 2 and maybe part 3 at some time down the road. But you guys brought young kids with you, right, at the start. And I understand now that your daughter is following the footsteps of you guys?
Yeah. So my daughter was 7 in second grade, and my son was in preschool when we moved in the RV in '97. They were 4 and 7 at the time. And my wife always wanted to be a teacher. And it was like, that was the other part of moving in the RV. It's like, wait, I'm a teacher. I'm going to teach kindergarten and second grade. And I'm going to teach first grade and third grade, all the way through high school. So my wife got to be a teacher of her favorite students. The kids got to go travel the world. We would do round the world tickets all around outside of the U.S. also, which of course required plane tickets. But because we were saving $1,100 a month, we were able to save up money to do these trips. So living in the RV afforded us that ability. But the kids, now my daughter's 30 and I've got 2 grandkids. They're 6 and 4. They're being homeschooled now. So it's really fun. It's fun to see my daughter also doing the same thing.
Great. Folks, if you just joined us, we're talking with Eric Jackson, and Eric has been a world champion freestyle kayaker. And that's pretty much where we talked about during this segment. But Eric has not only did he use kayaks, but he also manufactured them and had a company and has a company called Jackson Kayaks. And the interesting part about mixing the business with the pleasure is that he was able to wrap the RV. And I guess then it became a home office. So it may have been, we want to get into taxes. That's not a good thing. But for those people that are thinking of, can I still have my career and travel and have my freedom and show my kids this beautiful country, Eric, you've proven that not only has it been possible, but it's more possible today than ever before.
I think it's actually very effective. So I, as president and CEO of Jackson Kayak for many years, and then ultimately my CFO became CEO, but I did most of that from the RV. So traveling at least 6 months a year in the RV while I launched a new brand called Jackson Kayak. It actually really made it a lot easier for me to go see my customers, to see what's going on, to see my dealers. And then, of course, as a competitor, combining the two, I was able to win 2 world championships and a World Cup after I started Jackson Kayak, but only because I was able to work remotely and go to these competitions and be on my laptop while in, Oregon or Washington or Ottawa River, Canada, for example. So it's a pretty sweet deal. I definitely recommend it.
Great. So folks, we want to say, stay with us because we've got more for this segment, for this show, but join us again in the upcoming weeks when we will have more with Eric Jackson. So for the Camper Report show, Eric Jackson and John DePietro are saying, let's go RVing.
All right, let's go RVing. Thanks, John.
Hey guys, it's Phil and Stacy from You, Me, and the RV.
We've been traveling around in our 35-foot motorhome for 2 years now, and I don't know how we could have done it without RV Trip Wizard.
This easy-to-use RV trip planner makes sure we don't show up at the wrong campground on the wrong day. Right. Not that that's ever happened before.
Want to learn more about this amazing trip planner? Head over to RVLife.com to learn more about the entire RV Life bundle.
And you can thank us when you meet us on the road.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us at the Camper Report show today. And my special guest is Chris Andro, General Manager and co-owner at Hemlock Hill RV, which is that great building right behind him. And he also has a new role in the industry. He's now the chairman of the board of the RVDA, our National Dealer Association. So, Chris, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your new role?
Hi, Bob, and thanks for having me on. So my new role is the chairman of the National Dealers RV Association, the RVDA. NERVDA is a branch off of we're the New England, we're the regional group. But yeah, I've been on the board for probably 5 or 6 years now, and Connecticut delegate for more than 15 years. And, my dad started the RV dealership in our campground back in the 80s, and I just feel like this is a great way for me to give back. And I'm pretty passionate about the industry, and I'm honored to be the chairman and represent, the dealer body in the United States.
Yeah, that's a lot of responsibility, and you're right, you've served for a long time. In that capacity, you have your own agenda that obviously coincides with RVDA, but there's goals that you set for yourself. There's visions that you have for what a dealership should be. And probably one of the most difficult times in recent memory, coming off the pandemic and the dramatic changes we saw in the industry this year, and new buyers, a lot of new people coming into the industry. So what goals do you have? And when you speak to the dealers, what do you feel are the objectives that we have to look at from the dealers as we look into 2021?
Objectives and goals that I personally have are probably very similar to what dealers try and do on a daily basis, but don't actually really recognize it and put it in front of their mind. And that's taking care of the message that our parts departments and our service departments and our sales departments are teaching and showing and educating the newcomers coming into our business about how fun and adventuresome and outgoing RVing can be. And the bad, like with everything good, there's always an ugly, right? We have our ugly side. You got to dump your Blackwater tank. You got to handle things that you don't want to handle, right? The RVs are made by human beings, and they're not flawless. There are problems along the way. I try to convince all our customers that there's two things they should put in their RV when they first get it home. One is a basic toolbox, and two is a roll of duct tape. And that's really what my goal and our message from RVDA really is to promote the education so that the dealers have a way of just tightening up a little bit better and doing a little bit more informative job for our newcomers to get into this industry and have a great time. And the people that already own RVs, they're going to benefit from already great service.
You're right. With this number of new people coming in, it certainly puts a strain on all of our dealers. And we want to manage those expectations for the consumers, because we're selling RVs in record numbers, which means they have to be prepared. The customer has to have their acceptance of the vehicle. They have to be taught how to use it. Then they're going to go to campgrounds, and they've never been in campgrounds. So I think it's incumbent upon the industry to manage those expectations. And how do you feel RVDA is going to play that role in helping the dealers get to that level with the customers?
Well, the first place that I would tell dealers that they need to look is the RV the Learning Center, the Mike Molina Learning Center. There's a lot of good information there to get yourself started and get a baseline built. At Hemlock Hill, we look at ourselves as a training company that happens to sell RVs. We train every day, and I don't mean when someone makes a mistake, we correct it, or my brother runs parts and service, and I'm the general manager in charge of sales, accounting, and parts and service along with him. And every day, we start our meetings around 8:30, and we spend a half hour with our folks. Obviously a little bit smaller groups now and a little farther apart, but we spend time looking at our process, making sure it's still working, and if our process isn't working, where is it broken and how can we fix it? And we engage with our employees to make sure that they're engaged, and they suggest to us ways to fix and change it, because what, I'm not the one cashiering everybody every day. I'm not the one writing up buyer's orders to sell campers. They're doing it, and it's got to work for them, not for me.
Well, we've talked before. One of the things that you do is a special orientation for your customers. And I don't see that at a lot of dealerships. But tell us a little bit about that and why it's so important for that new first-time buyer.
There's a few reasons why it's so important. We do about a 2-hour, we don't even call it an orientation, where we call it a class. And, a certified technician who got your camper ready to go camping, does the class and teaches you how to use it, how to, the best way to set things up, the best way to level it, the best way to use the slide outs. The reason it's important is because we want to maximize our customers' time in the campground and using the RV rather than getting it fixed or trying to figure it out. It's like anything else. When you go and buy something new, and I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but if you spend 2 hours reading the instructions and 20 minutes using it, and then you're like, well, that's it. That's no fun, right? We'd rather have you spend 2 or 3 hours learning how to use it, and then the rest of your life making memories in it. And our belief at our dealership, and I know a lot of dealerships believe this, is we're selling fun and we're selling a vehicle to help you make memories. So it's got to be a fun process all the way through. It can't be a tough process. And that brings to my second point is, you got to make sure when you're coming into this industry and you're buying in this industry, buy from a good local reputable dealer. And look, we can buy anything on Amazon. We can buy anything we want online. But what we always forget is that it costs a little bit more money to buy locally, but you have to put you have to weigh in the knowledge and the service you'll receive for that extra dollar. And you're probably a lot like me, Bob. Like you're not ordering your lobsters in Maine offline, are you? You're going down to the docks and you're picking out the ones you want. And you're talking to the captain and you're making sure that he's doing a good job for you. Am I right or wrong?
Right.
And you'll happily pay a few extra bucks for that if you had to, right?
Exactly. Well, you need that personal relationship, especially with something as sophisticated as an RV. You don't just get in it and turn the key. And you're right. People will pay for those services, and it's absolutely essential that they do that and have the relationship with the local dealer.
For me, it's about setting up the right environment for the user right from the beginning. Now, if that RV was delivered to your yard by a driver who has never even used an RV in their life, all they are is a paid driver, and they drop it off, and you can't turn on a light as soon as you get your brand new shiny new RV, and he doesn't know how to help you or turn it on or tell you where it is, and the dealer that you got it from is hundreds of miles away. That's not a good environment. That's not a good way to kick off your vacation home, is it?
You're not going to be a happy camper, and you're probably not going to stay in the lifestyle. And that's the thing that's so exciting this year, is that we do have all these new people coming into it. We sold record numbers. We're projecting record numbers again next year. So from a dealer perspective, all those dealers that are out there, and there are some that are not part of RVDA. What do you say to the dealers that are not part of their own national association, and what are they missing out on?
I understand why they're not part of it, and I get that it's probably just the value proposition hasn't been presented to them rightly, the correct way. They're too busy. They intended on doing it, but never got to it. They heard something that may or may not have been, good or bad. I understand all those reasons, but here's what someone told me many years ago, and everybody's kind of heard this phrase: you don't know what you don't, you don't know what you don't know, right? You have to educate yourself. I'll give you a different example besides being a member of RVDA. And in 2009, in Connecticut, there was a very serious problem happening for RV dealers in franchise laws. And our association, the association attorney, personally called me and said, "Hey, you need to take a look at this. There's a law getting ready to go through your government that's going to affect you negatively, and we don't support that kind of language. You need to take a look at it." Long story short was, there was a couple of car dealers in the state at the time that were selling RVs. They convinced me to join the Car Dealerships Association to help fight this bill, to get it dialed in. And I did, and we did. And I'm still a member today because I didn't know that being a member of the Car Dealership Association would benefit me in so many ways when it comes to DMV issues, when it comes to regulation issues, when it comes to Connecticut regulatory issues. I had no idea. So I didn't know, what I didn't know hurt me. So I guess my point is to those who are not members, I don't want them to feel scared about, well, they need to become a member because they're going to miss out. You're just missing there's so many things you don't know you're missing that even if you did it today, you still can't gain all the knowledge. I still don't have all the knowledge.
Yep. No, I agree. I've always been involved with associations when I had my imaging company and certainly with NERVDA. It's invaluable. One last topic. We sell the RVs. People go out and they go into the campgrounds, and some people will argue that dealers don't have the relationship with campgrounds, or campgrounds don't have the relationship with dealers that they should have. But it's more important than ever going into 2021 that we get much closer aligned with our campground friends for the benefit of the consumer. Because when you sell an RV, they're going to use it. A lot of them are going to use it in campgrounds, some do boondock or what have you. How do we go about that in 2021?
Improving the relationship.
Yeah.
There's a couple of ways I think we can do that. First of all and foremost, reach out and call them and talk to them. Make a friend. Interview your buyers and find out what campgrounds they frequent the most. Heck, a dealership like ours has been selling since 1985. We have tens of thousands of customers that we can call on a daily basis and just say, hey, share some experience of some places you went, just because we have, a book of recommendations for our current customers. And then you could kind of see a pattern and just call those campgrounds. I mean, if you call 10 or 12 campgrounds in the area and you make a friend with the owner and say, hey, you have any problem with anybody's camper that comes through your door, you have a question, you call us. I don't care what kind of brand it is. We'll help you out. Make a friend. And that's the first. Communication is going to be the key. The other thing is, again, teach your customers the proper way to behave in a campground. And what I mean by that is the proper way to dump the RV, the proper way to level the RV, the proper, way to not cut somebody off when you're pulling through with a 30-foot rig behind you. The safeties that you need to put in place. Teach them how to be courteous, so the campground owner or manager who's completely stressed on a Friday night with 40 check-ins at once, and they're backed up on the road, and this guy's got a flat tire, and blah blah blah, and this one's not happy where the fireplace is on their campsite. Give them a break by educating the people we put on the road. I think those are the two major things that we can do as an industry to improve our relationship. And not that we have a great relationship, we just need to make it better.
That's great. Chris, I want to thank you very much for joining us today. Always a pleasure, and best of luck with your chairmanship of RVDA. And all of us at NERVDA are here. We'll help any way we can for you, for your customers, for the dealers around the country. So thanks for sharing that today.
Thanks, Bob. I appreciate it, and have a good one.
Take care. Thank you for joining us on the show this week.
And if you like this show, hit that subscribe button down below. Down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, there's a little button that says subscribe. And then when that is done, there's a little bell that pops up. Hit the bell so that every time we have a new show, you'll be the first to see it.
And tell all your friends about it.